Lena stepped into her new apartment, a wave of excitement washing over her. It was a quaint little studio with large windows overlooking the bustling city. The afternoon sun streamed in, casting long shadows on the hardwood floor. Lena took a deep breath, the air thick with the scent of old books and dust. She couldn't wait to make this place her own. The previous tenant had left in a hurry, leaving behind a few items that Lena now surveyed with curiosity. An old armchair sat in the corner, its velvet upholstery faded and worn. A stack of dusty books lay on the floor, their pages yellowed with age. And on the wall, above the fireplace, hung a lone picture frame. The frame itself was ornate and antique, made of dark polished wood. It stood in stark contrast to the bare walls around it. Lena approached cautiously, her fingers brushing against the cold glass. It was a black and white photograph, the edges faded and worn. A young woman stared back at her, her expression unreadable. Lena found herself strangely drawn to the picture. The woman's eyes, dark and piercing, seemed to follow her every move. There was something oddly familiar about them, like a long-forgotten memory resurfacing. A shiver ran down Lena's spine, and she quickly averted her gaze, a sense of unease settling in her stomach. Days turned into nights, and Lena busied herself with unpacking and settling into her new home. But the picture frame continued to draw her attention. She tried ignoring it, covering it with a sheet, but it was no use. The woman's intense gaze seemed to pierce through any barrier. Her presence an unwelcome guest in Lena's quiet sanctuary. One evening, as Lena sat reading by the window, she felt a cold draft, as if someone had opened a door. She looked around, but the apartment was empty. Her gaze fell upon the picture frame, and her breath caught in her throat. The woman in the photo was now smiling faintly, her lips curled into a knowing smirk. Lena rubbed her eyes, wondering if the dim lighting was playing tricks on her. But when she looked again, the smile was still there. It was a subtle change, almost imperceptible, yet it sent a chill down her spine. The woman's eyes seemed to gleam with an unnatural light, as if she were alive and aware of Lena's presence. A strange compulsion came over Lena. She had to see the picture up close. She rose from her chair and slowly approached the fireplace, her heart pounding in her chest. As she reached out to touch the frame, a loud crack echoed through the apartment and the lights went out, plunging her into darkness. Lena gasped, her hand flying to her chest. Darkness enveloped her, thick and heavy. Fear gnawed at the edges of her mind. She fumbled for her phone, the faint light from the screen a beacon in the suffocating darkness. As her eyes adjusted, she saw the outline of the picture frame, the woman's eyes glowing ominously in the darkness. They seemed closer now, as if the woman were trying to break free from her confines. Lena stumbled back, her heart racing. She wanted to run, to escape the suffocating presence in the room, but her feet felt rooted to the spot, paralyzed by an unseen force. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy. Lena could feel her breath catching in her throat, her chest constricting. Suddenly the lights flickered back on, blinding Lena momentarily. She blinked, trying to clear her vision. When she could see clearly again, she noticed something different about the picture frame. The woman's eyes were no longer just staring at her, they were following her every move. Lena's heart thumped against her ribs. She tried to convince herself it was just her imagination, a trick of the light. But deep down, a primal fear warned her that something was terribly wrong. She stepped away from the picture frame, her eyes glued to the woman's unblinking gaze. No matter where Lena moved, the woman's eyes tracked her, as if alive. A cold shiver ran down Lena's spine. Then she heard it, a whisper, faint and barely audible, coming from the direction of the picture frame. It was a woman's voice, filled with an unspeakable sadness. Lena froze, her breath catching in her throat. She strained to hear, every nerve ending on high alert. The whisper came again, a little louder this time. "Help me," it breathed, the sound like dry leaves rustling in the wind. Terror gripped Lena's heart. "Help me!" The plea seemed to echo in the silence of the apartment, bouncing off the walls, seeping into her very bones. This was madness. Pictures couldn't talk. Heart pounding in her ears, Lena took a hesitant step towards the picture frame. Her hand trembled as she reached out to touch the cold glass. She had to be certain she was just imagining things, that there was a logical explanation. As her fingers brushed against the glass, the whispers grew stronger, more insistent. "Help me!" the voice pleaded again, the sound laced with desperation. "Please, set me free!" Lena jerked back her hand as if burned. The woman's eyes in the photo seemed to burn brighter, her pale face etched with a mixture of hope and agony. And then the unimaginable happened. The woman in the picture moved. Her hand, previously resting in her lap, rose slowly, her fingers pressing against the glass as if